We are live.
Good evening to one and all present here. Today, I, Anagha, a second year student and member of the placement committee, would like to welcome you all to the career session with IMT Hyderabad. Firstly, I'd like to introduce our corporate relations head, Mr. Prakash Pathak. Mr. Prakash Pathak, the head of corporate relations at IMT Hyderabad, has prior to his work at IMT Hyderabad, worked with some of the leading universities and B schools, including IMT Ghaziabad, handling their placements and corporate relations. He has a professional work experience of 30 years across several domains, including technology, sales, marketing, assessment, corporate relations, and people management. The last 13 years of his experience has been in placements and corporate relations. During his overall tenure in placements, he has placed more than 10,000 students and helped them not only get their dream jobs, but also carve out their careers. His success is attributed to not only the strong connect he has with industry leaders, but also to the empathy he has for students and a strong desire that his students succeed in getting placed and excel in corporate life. He was successful in placing students in India, Middle East, Southeast Asia, and other countries. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Anaga. Thank you for the nice introduction, and good evening to all the participants of today's IMT Connect series. We hope we have a good discussion. I am able to give you some information on not just placement data and all, but also how to figure out your career path, because as Anaga said, that's what I have been doing for the last so many years. And I'm sure we'll have a session where some of your doubts be cleared on what placements is, what is the difference between a job and a career, and so on. So all these things I would try my best to address in today's session. And yeah, Naga, over to you.
So I'll ask questions, and maybe you can answer them, the questions that students may have. So the first question is, what is the percentage increase in the average placements from the year 2021 to 2022 for the entire batch?
Okay, sure. So that's a data point, and last year our average was 9.7 lakhs per annum, 9.67 to be precise. This year the average is 12 lakhs per annum. So that's around 23% growth in the average placements. Yeah.
And approximately what would be the enhanced salary compared to CTC that's been offered by companies?
Oh, that's out of syllabus question. Okay, so I'll tell you, Anaga. So basically, yeah, I mean, but that's a very good question. I think I know you are asking. You have recently been placed, and probably something that is on top of your mind right now. And prospect should also know that. See, typically, what it means is that suppose my CTC is 24 lakhs, and what people, especially freshers, confuse is if my CTC is 24 lakhs, then I'll be getting 2 lakhs per month in my account at the end of each month. So it doesn't happen that way, because one is there are statutory deductions. There are deductions like PF, there are deductions like the other components like gratuity, income tax, and so on. So, but basically, as a thumb rule, what people can expect, what students can expect is 80% of what your CTC is. That is what you can, 70 to 80% of the CTC is what you will get as a check in hand at the end of each month. And that is where I would like to highlight, actually in IMT Hyderabad, we take a conscious call. We do not invite companies who give more than 30% variable. So that also, so in this 20 to 30% variable that you will not get, there are things like PF, gratuity, tax, and variable. So broadly, these are the components that you will not be getting along with the paycheck at the end of each month. So basically, this is what we do is we consciously do not invite companies which offer more than 30% variables. That means at least 70% should be your fixed. And of course, to add to it, even the variable, even the PF and all is also your earning. That is what you would also be getting, but maybe deferred. Maybe after your variable sometimes is paid six monthly, or maybe yearly or quarterly. And PF and all are retirement benefits that you accumulate, and then normally when you leave the job or when you retire, then you get those. And So that is basically 70 to 80% of your CTC you can expect as something in hand at the end of each month.
Okay. So could you give us a brief of what kind of companies and what are the prominent companies that we have visiting our campus?
Yeah, so of course, to tell you all the names, I would take help of a slide. But before that, let me tell you that we have IMT Hyderabad has companies from nearly all domains. First of all, the big thing is consulting companies, which are, as an MBA student, which is the dream of all MBA students, students who do MBA, consulting is their dream. So all the big four hire from us. So Deloitte, KPMG, EY, PwC, all the big four hire from us. We have companies like Amazon and Walmart, the e-commerce companies hire from us. Leading banks hire from us. FMCG companies like Marico and Dukes, they hire from us. And then, of course, we have manufacturing sector companies. Volvo hires from us, which is a leading automobile manufacturer. So put together, what we do is very diverse set of sectors that we actually try to have as much diversity as possible in the sector of the sector of companies that visit IMT Hyderabad, and we have a representation from all sectors. Later on during our discussion, I'll throw some more light by showing you a slide in which most of our recruiters are mentioned.
So we have a question from a student in the live stream. Question is, how are Ghaziabad and Hyderabad campuses collaborating?
Okay, so basically, see, the collaboration is, one is we are the same group. So IMT Ghaziabad is the parent campus, which started in 1982, and IMT Hyderabad came up in 2011. So we are related. So the way we are related is, one is the, of course, the good practices that we follow, because eventually we branched out from IMT Ghaziabad. And as you told in your introduction also, I was earlier working with IMT Ghaziabad. So that way I know a lot of things. So basically the pedagogy is the same. We have taken many good practices out of IMT Ghaziabad, whether it is placements, whether it is faculty, whether it is delivery. Sometimes there is a faculty exchange also that happens, where faculty from the other campuses of IMT, they there is a faculty exchange between the various campuses and so on. And of course, the syllabus and the subjects are more or less common, although electives is something which we offer autonomously. I mean, like, electives which are offered may be different in both the campuses. So there's a lot of similarity which is there. And of course, we have IMT Ghaziabad is a parent campus, and we closely work with them. But the placements, I would like to make it very clear here, but the placements are different. I mean, placements are separate. Placements of IMT Hyderabad happen separately, and we have a separate list of recruiters and so on. And the placements of IMT Ghaziabad happen separately. They are not linked. Yeah.
So could you tell us a little bit about the average and median salary that we have for our current 2023 batch?
Okay, average salary, as I just told you, it is 12 lakhs per annum. So our highest is 25 lakhs per annum. That is, most of the prospects would be knowing. That's all. I mean, anyway, these figures are there in our website. And our average is 12 lakhs per annum. And the average of top 10 offers would be close to 20 lakhs per annum, and top 50 would be close to 13.2 lakhs per annum. So basically, what I want to say is that while the average is 12 lakhs per annum, if you are in the top 25%, so considering our batch size this year passing out is 186, so top 50 average is 13.2. So basically, if you are in the top 25% of the students, which I'm sure everyone should aspire for, you can look at an average of 13.2 lakhs per annum in 2023. And I would also like to add here is that every year there is an increase in average. Like I was telling you, last year there has been an increase from last year around 23%. So some kind of incremental value is definitely there every year.
So could you tell how placements would look for somebody who has work experience, and will it have an edge over somebody who's a fresher, and how it would matter whether you have work experience or if you're a fresher?
Yeah, so that depends on what kind of work ex you have and what is your aspirational company. For example, if you have worked in an IT company, let's say an Infosys, Wipro, TCS, or what together, and then when you apply for an IT company, normally the norm is that there is an additional component of 1 lakh rupees in CTC per year of experience. Yeah, 50,000 to 1 lakh rupees per year of experience. That's a norm. But let me also add this with a corollary that, again, as I said, what kind of experience? If you have an experience working in, let's say, a manufacturing company, and what the job that you are applying for is, let's say, advertising and branding. Okay. So maybe since these two are not related, there won't be much of a difference and you may be treated as a fresher. And I think you should appreciate the fact, because whatever work experience you had is in a totally different domain. So basically, normally for companies, there is a differential of 1,50,000 to 1 lakh rupees per year in the CTC per year of work ex.
So we have a question in the live stream. Students want to know what the sector-wise placements is, how we have placements for finance, marketing, and the different fields that we have in our college.
Okay, so let me share my screen, and I would like to show a few slides that would answer some generic questions related to not only sectors, but some other things also. So probably that will help the prospective students get a good idea of what kind of companies come in. And I'll start with this slide. Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So see, I would also like, these are some of our recruiters, which I'm showing on the screen. What is important for students also to read is the kind of profiles that they offer. So Goldman Sachs, investment banking knowledge manager, RCCM product consulting, Barcadia credit analyst, and so on. So basically, these profiles are the profiles that have been offered, that are being offered to many IMs also. So at IMT Hyderabad, one is not only we have a set of recruiters, but they also offer some very niche profiles that are offered to IM students. So this is about the thing. These are the, this is the sector-wise placements. I'll come to this later on. And we have companies like, so basically, these are the recruiters. So basically, I told you from the consulting companies, we have all the big four who hire from us. From from e-commerce, we have Amazon and Walmart hire from us. From banks, we have HSBC, we had HDFC Bank, we have IDFC, ICICI Bank, all the leading banks hire from us. And then we also have the FMCG companies like Marico and Dukes hire from us. So does that answer the question?
The students also want to know what kind of companies come for finance consulting, etc. What the highest and average packages would be sector-wise.
Okay, sector-wise. So basically, these are the consulting companies: Deloitte, Excel Alpha, Genpact, EY, Hitachi. So these are the consulting companies which you are seeing on screen. And I've also mentioned the kind of roles that they offer here. And in terms of sector-wise, these are the function-wise roles offered. I'll come to it later on. And this is the sector-wise breakup of the roles offered. This is for 2020. This data is for 2023 batch. So basically, if you can see, 37% of the students were placed in the IT and ITS sector, followed by consulting, which is around 21%. So IT and consulting, these are anyway the hot recruiters that we have in the current space. And function-wise, sorry, this gives you a kind of a figure of what the function-wise average, median, and highest look like. And that's something very important for prospective students to know. So our highest is 25 lakhs per annum, which was offered to finance students. So we had offers This was offered by DE Shop. And then in the human resources in HR, the highest was 15.5 with an average of 13.47. So nearly the same in IT and analytics. And marketing, the highest was around 16.6 with an average of 11.5. And in operations, again, the highest was 16.6 with an average of 12.28. So these are the average, median, and highest function-wise. So if a student has decided which function, although I think that may be too early, and normally first year is common, and in the second year, students take up their specialization. But if you want to have a kind of a idea of what kind of salaries are offered in each function, this is the image. And these are the function-wise roles offered. Again, this is finance. So we have companies like HCL, companies like Volvo, and so on, who offered these roles in finance. And so this is just an extension of that list. We had companies like Berkadia who offered this profile of mortgage analyst and a BFSI consultant, and Deloitte offered US tax consultant. So these are the function-wise roles offered in finance. Now comes marketing. So in marketing, again, Volvo offered this position of management trainee, and HCL offered the position of sales support. And then there are positions of business analyst. This is again marketing, which is where from the IT and ITS sectors, we had companies like Wipro who offered positions like senior management trainee. And we had companies like Excel Alpha, which offered a position of pre-sales specialist. And in HR, we had Barclays, which offered a process expert profile. We had Deloitte, which offered a business analyst profile in HR. And then we had a process expert profile from HSBC. These are the profiles offered in the operations domain. So this will again kind of give an idea of what kind of profiles are being offered in the operations domain. And again, we had in operations, we had companies like HCL, we had companies like Reliance Retail, and so on, who offered these profiles. And analytics, which is also a specialization in IMT Hyderabad. Again, the students were offered risk and financial advisory, business development analyst, pricing analyst, and so on. So that kind of gives you an idea of, again, this is also analytics, which are IT and analytics, the analytics specialization at IMT Hyderabad, where profiles like ES, finance, Salesforce, business analyst, and so on were offered to the students. So this all is 2023 data. Yeah.
So there's one student who wants to know what kind of a CTC a fresher in finance would get.
Okay, so in fact, incidentally, the highest CTC that we are talking of in finance, which is 25 lakhs per annum. And traditionally, not only this year, last year our highest was 23.5 lakhs per annum. Both of them were offered to a student in finance who was a fresher. So may sound a little ironical, but yes, even the highest salary offered is to a fresher. Yeah.
So there's one student who wants to know if the learning environment is competitive and collaborative. And adding on to that, maybe we can talk about the different sessions and workshops that we conduct at IMT Hyderabad to improve the chances of placement.
Yeah, so I'll come, a very good question. I am glad that the students are asking these questions, because these are something more important, not just the data. So again, can you see my screen?
Yes, it's visible.
One moment, I am unable to. Oh, it's got stuck. Give me a moment. Yeah. So in this slide, I am talking of exposure at IMT Hyderabad, which kind of relates to the kind of the question that has been asked. So IMT Hyderabad, one thing is we just do not bring companies to campus. We also prepare you on how to crack those companies to eventually get a good placement. It doesn't matter. I mean, our campus may bring any company to campus, but the fact is, unless it converts into an offer to the student, it doesn't matter. Okay. So we have something called a leadership series, which is our flagship event for the where leaders, and when I say leaders, it is about CEOs, CXOs, and so on. Recently, we had Mr. Shivan Bhargava, who is the CEO of Airtel South. He had come for the leadership series lectures and all. So basically, that is where we invite leaders from the industry to talk to you, and it's a very informal discussion that happens. It's not a one-way talk where leaders talk just about themselves. I mean, you can ask any questions. It's a kind of an open house that happens at IMT Hyderabad. One thing again that is one way of involving the industry and giving you inputs. Similarly, we have something called a practitioner faculty concept at IMT Hyderabad. So every course that we teach, 15 to 20% of that course has to be taught by someone from the industry who is in that domain. For example, if you are a marketing student and you are studying a subject called marketing analytics, so every subject typically has 18 to 20 lectures. 15 lectures would be taken by the faculty, and 4 to 5 lectures will be taken by someone from the industry who is working in marketing analytics or retail marketing or treasury or OB, whichever is the subject based on the elective or based on the subject that you are studying. Now, another thing is we have something called a mentor-mentee program, where a student is allocated a mentor. Okay. So this mentor is again a leader from the industry. And with this mentor, you can have a formal. So formally, what happens is you have to do a project under the mentor, which is for a period of 2 months or so. But it's different from an internship. So it's not just a 2-month or a 3-month project that you are doing, and at the end of the project you part ways. So mentor, as the name suggests, it's a very long-term relation that you develop with your mentor, where you can ask him or her any questions on your career, how to shape your career. Suppose you have to choose between which company to apply and so on. So you can always consult your mentor. So that industry mentor is kind of your go-to person for any kind of consulting, any kind of experience sharing that you need him or her to do. So that mentor-mentee program is also something which is very useful for the overall development of the students and kind of making students industry ready. We do a lot of HR conclaves, we do a lot of guest lectures and networking events. So we are doing a series of events, let's say this year with which is on mental wellness. So there again, we invite students to participate, and this is attended by leaders from the industry. Mostly this mental wellness, since it is related to HR, this event is a series of events which is attended by the HRs of the CHROs and all of leading companies and so on. So besides this, we have words of wisdom sessions, which is basically where we ask our alumni to come and talk to you. So again, very informal, because with alumni, you can be informal. And so basically, alumni take up sessions and, so basically tell you a lot about what to expect and so on. I mean, a few days ago, we had one of the senior person from Kotak Mahindra Bank, who is an alumni of IMT Hyderabad, and he did this words of wisdom session. And then we have peer learning sessions where there are a lot of clubs and committees within IMT Hyderabad, which actually are very good learning kind of places where you informally learn a lot of things. And of course, as I said, there is a dedicated placements training and intervention program. So if you look at it, I mean, there are so many things which kind of come together to give you the learning and kind of make you industry ready. So that with the sole objective, two objectives. One is when companies come to campus, you are able to clear their interview process. And not only this, you are able to do well when you finally join the company. That also is important. So right from our business communication course, which teaches you email etiquette and CV writing and so on. So these are learnings that you can carry with you for the entire lifetime.
So there's one student who wants to know if Bain and Company comes, and if they do, for what role?
Bain and Company basically comes for an associate consultant role. That's the role that they offer. And basically, initially, what you will be doing in that role is a lot of research, lot of back-end work that you would be doing. And with any consulting company, you don't expect to do front-ending and customer-facing role. Right from, because there's a lot of grooming that has to happen before you actually face a customer. So not only Bain and Company, but even Goldman Sachs, but even Morgan Stanley and all, you would be doing a lot of research and doing a lot of back-end work initially in the first, I would say 2 to 3 years that you would be spending with them.
So there's a student who wants to know if there's any international immersion offered at IMT Hyderabad.
So if you're talking of international immersion, which is about student exchange. So we have a student exchange program where the students, we have a tie-up with, I think, around 40 universities abroad. I mean, and 40 is a conservative figure that I'm telling. You know, we have a tie-up with many universities abroad where we have a student exchange program where their students come to us for one term or 2 terms, rather. It is for 2 terms, and our students go there for 2 terms. So that's a complete student exchange that happens. And this year, all this was impacted due to COVID. Last 3 years, this was not happening. And this was happening virtually. It was happening, but it was happening virtually. But again, we started this student exchange program, physical student exchange program this year. And already a few students have left for France to do their student exchange in one of the universities there. So yes, we have a tie-up. And if you have a kind of a bent of mind for going for an international immersion, IMT Hyderabad is a good place where you have a very good opportunity to go for an international immersion.
So students want to know if there's an industrial visit opportunity for during the MBA course.
Yeah, so of course there are there, and depending on the stream that you choose, usually we do industry visits more. I mean, so we do it in the first year also, but it's very important once you choose your electives, and which is in the second year, you know, which specialization are you going to take? Once you choose your electives, then it is very important to do industry visits. For example, if you have chosen, let's say, operations, then we'll take you to, let's say, an automobile manufacturer, or let's say heavy engineering industry where you can, or a retail industry where you can understand their supply chain concept and so on. We take you to FMCG companies to understand, if you're a marketing students, and understand more about marketing and branding, how that happens, and of course how sales also happens in an FMCG company. So yes, we have a lot of industry sessions both in the first year and in the second year.
So there's a question that says, how many companies will I be allowed to sit for in placement opportunities? And adding on to that, maybe we can talk about how many students can sit for even after placements.
Okay, so IMT Hyderabad is one of the few colleges, I would say, which has a dual offer policy. So you can have, you can, even if you get an offer, you can still apply for a company which is offering a higher package. One is that. The other is the institute declares some companies as dream companies. So if a good company comes, let's say towards the end of session, I'll give you a live example. You know, Morgan Stanley last year, they came. somewhere in February. So of course, the students who that was declared as an institute dream company, and all the students, even irrespective of their offer status, they were kind of allowed to sit for placement. So we have a dual offer policy where you can take up to 2 offers. And of course, we have something called an institute dream company, and we have a student dream company also. So if you specify a dream company as a student, then you are allowed to sit for that company, even if you are placed. So we have a up to 2 offer policy at IMT Hyderabad.
So the question was, how many will I be allowed to sit in general?
Okay, in general, no, there is no upper limit to it in IMT Hyderabad. We do not say that you are allowed for this many companies also, and if you don't get placed in, let's say 5 companies or 10 companies. So now I understand where the question is coming from. Some colleges have this, that if you're not placed in 10 companies, you're out of the placement process. But I'll speak this with a corollary that this shouldn't be taken as something which makes you complacent. I mean, you should try your best to get placed at the earliest, because that gives you a lot of advantage. I mean, placing, not getting placed early is something which gives you a lot of discomfort, mental discomfort, and also avoid that. Even if the institute is offering, does not have an upper limit, I would suggest, as a career person, I would suggest that you try to get placed. Don't be complacent by the fact that there is no upper limit. So I'll keep on applying, and I'll keep getting opportunities.
So what is the average package that we're looking at for the batch of 23 to 25?
See, 23-25 average package, as I said, historically, we have been seeing a minimum 10% to a maximum of 25% growth. I mean, because, I mean, it depends on a lot of factors, economic factors. Last 2 years was COVID, unfortunate. We talk of recession, but historically, we have been seeing a growth of 10% to 25% every year. So you can calculate that way. So if the average in 23 is 12 lakhs per annum, probably what could be the average in 25?
So there's a question, what does IMT look for students during the interview process?
So basically, we do look for one thing, which is, I mean, of course, not to mention CAT scores and so on, which is one of the qualifying criteria, which is there in IMT, the competitive exam score. But also we look at students who can think on their feet. I'll give you an example. I was in one of the admission interviews, and I was interviewing the student, and so this guy, I asked him this question. I mean, which specialization would you like to take? And he said marketing. I said, okay, name 3 brands of Pepsi. Okay, apart from Pepsi, as such. So basically, when the students could answer for 2 minutes, I just told him, and there's a water bottle lying in front of us. Usually when you're in the panel, you have a water bottle, and it was Kinley water bottle. And I told him, I mean, probably one brand is lying in front of you. Okay. So that is the kind of thinking that we require. So even if you may not know all the answers, it's not possible for everyone to know everything, but a quick thinking on the feet, and you realize that the answer is maybe somewhere very close to you. So kind of quick thinkers is what we are looking at. And of course, some kind of knowledge that we do, again, if you're saying playing guitar is my hobby, and or going to the gym is my hobby, it may happen that you may be talking to someone who is a regular gym goer. So basically, again, he may ask you, what do you do? Do you do cardio? Do you do muscles, or whatever is you do, or in a guitar, if you're saying playing a guitar, or you have a hobby in music. So whatever answer you are giving, you should be able to back it up with relevant information. So these are the two things, major things I would say, offline, I would say, is something very important if you're giving an IMT interview.
There's a question a student wants to ask about the pre-placements.
No, so is it about PPOs, pre-placement offer?
I think so. Okay, could you just clarify that question? I'll ask a different question in the meanwhile.
Yeah.
So could you talk about the eligibility criteria for a student to sit for final placements?
See, the only eligibility criteria is a CGPA of minimum CGPA of 5, below which, if you actually have a CGPA below 5, then you're not passing the term. So this is the only criteria. We do not have a criteria of any percentage or something like that, like in, maybe in a few colleges that throughout 60% or a CGPA of 6 in MBA is the requirement for you to be eligible for placement. So if you are an IMT Hyderabad student, you are eligible for placements subject to you passing the courses, which is a CGPA of 5. So that's the only criteria we have. Otherwise there is no the limitation on whether you can sit for placements or not.
So could you talk a little bit about grooming that is required of students when they sit for a placement process?
So you mean to say personal grooming? Is it about being clean shaven and all and well dressed and all?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so see, I would like to say something. There was a time when for boys, being clean shave was a basic requirement, whether you're going in any interview, whichever interview, job interview, or I don't know, maybe in my times it was there. Even if you are going to see a marriage, it was a marriage interview. So that was the norm that was there. But of late, we have required is what we have seen is groomed doesn't mean clean shave. Groom is not equal to clean shave. Okay. So we're trying to, this year we had this policy that boys should be clean shaved. So that is one aspect, but we are looking at it, and we are kind of, I think by the time these students join us, I'm sure it should be well groomed and not clean shaven. So that is one thing which is definitely the prospective students can expect. But yes, of course, now what is the costume that you are wearing? That also is important. So for some companies, it is like the business formals. For most of the companies, it is business formals, and that is what is mentioned by the company. But I'll tell you another interesting thing. There are companies who want you to come in casuals too. Recently we had Tommy Hilfiger, and their requirement was you cannot be in business formal. You cannot be in any kind of formal. You have to be in casuals. From your t-shirt to your trouser to your shoes, everything should be casual. So that depends company to company. But yes, you have to be neat. You have to look smart. So that is, I think, which is very important. And yes, if a company is saying business formals, then you cannot come in a t-shirt or a jeans or something. Yeah.
So if there's an increase in the batch size, what steps are we considering for placements and internships?
So, I'll tell you one thing that I have seen is normally a batch size increase. So this year we are increasing our batch size. Still last year it was 240, and next year it is this intake is for 300 students. And I don't know whether I'm kind of authorized to tell this information or not. But yes, so whenever there is an increase in batch size, one experience I have been, it doesn't affect the placements much, because see, the companies who are coming for campus placements, they have a far bigger appetite. Okay. So it's just that if the number of students sitting for the process is, let's say 50, then the company selects 10 people. Okay. And if this number increases to 60 or 70, the number of selects automatically increases, because the students, there's a greater chance of students falling into the parameter of the company. So that doesn't affect much. And of course, we consciously make efforts. It's not that we don't do. We know what the batch size is every year. And depending on that, and not only batch size, we also take into account how many students from each specialization. So in some batches, finance may be more, in some batch, marketing may be more, and so on. So basically, that also we take into account when we do our strategic planning at the start of the year. When we sit down and make our strategy for placements, we look into all these factors. What is the batch size, and also function wise, what is the batch size, so that we focus more on that area, more on finance roles if the finance batch size is more on marketing roles if the marketing batch size is more, and so on. So we do a conscious planning, and at least about IMT, I think one thing that I can say with conviction is that we have historically had 100% placements year on year, and that is what we can kind of tell you, no matter what the batch size is.
So I'm reverting back. Student wanted to know about the pre-placement offers.
Yeah. So since we are sharing the screen now, pre-placement offer comes when we have a good set of companies who recruit in the internship. Yeah. So basically, the other thing that we make, we consider very important is what kind of companies visit the campus for internships. So that's what you are seeing on screen are the companies who visited for internships till now. We start our internships normally when in December or something like that. So we just started our internship, and if you look at it, some of the top brands, Morgan Stanley, Tommy Hilfiger, Gati, RBI, Dalmia Bharat, Aporio, Nephroplus, these are the kind of companies that are visiting IMT Hyderabad for internships. And since these are the kind of companies that visit for internship, there is a huge chance of getting converted into a PPO. So the only thing that we advise the students is, see, PPO has a company offering a PPO has an advantage and as well as a disadvantage. One is advantage from a student's perspective. What the advantage is, you work with the company for 3 months, so you are able to know the culture of the company. So you can also select, you can also choose, is this the kind of company that I want to work for? Is this the kind of culture that I'm looking for? Is this the kind of bosses that I'm looking for, and so on. So that is something that you can kind of come to know in an internship. That's the advantage. But one thing, no, I won't say disadvantage, but one thing is the company is also watching you for 3 months. Okay. So basically you have to be on your feet. Usually typically in a placement process, you have 15 minutes to half an hour to impress the interviewer. Okay. But in an internship, all 3 months you have to be dedicated so that you are able to impress the employer. So that's how you can convert. It's a kind of a mantra, how you can convert an internship into a PPO. So we have fairly good conversions, and these keep on increasing every year, the number of PPOs, and that's something even we want the students to go for a good internship and acquire a PPO.
There's a student who wants to know if there are any courses they should learn before joining a B school, anything like Power BI, Excel, or something.
Okay, so basically there are some basic courses. One is you should know what your inclination is. I'm not saying that you choose your specialization, because that may not be required in the first year. And probably if you are taking admission in a particular program, so that the answer to this question largely depends on what kind of specialization you're looking at and what's your core competence. And of course there are some kind certifications and all which are very important in today's world. For example, anything on AI ML, that is something which is a hot topic. And even, as I was saying, even marketing analytics, HR analytics, these kind of subjects are being taught, and these are the kind of profiles that are coming up. So any kind of new age technology certification that you can do, you must be doing. And of course, if you are into, let's say, finance, for an example, if you want to use finance as your specialization, and if you have a commerce background, probably you are able to relate to it. But if you are a, let's say, engineering student and you want to do finance, some basic course on accounting and finance is something which is basically advisable for you. The other thing which is very much advisable, even from a finance perspective, again, I'd say, is taxation. Any course or any certificate in taxation, be it Indian taxation or be it US taxation, these are the two major taxation jobs that are there in the market. So if you do these basic certifications and these basic courses, I think that is enough. But what is more enough, you come with an open mind. That's one certification I think all students should. You should come with an open mind, with an idea of learning. And within your 2 years that you spend, you have a lot of faculty members, a lot of people who are there, your seniors and your faculty members, who will keep on guiding you on what kind of certification and courses you should be doing.
So what industry do you think is best suited for freshers to kickstart their career?
Well, there is nothing like any particular industry for freshers. Every industry is good. And of course, if you want an answer to this question, there are, IT is the industry which is an evergreen industry, especially from an Indian talent point of view. So that is one industry that the students look forward to. And if you are very cautious about pay packages and so on, you should be. I'm not saying you should not be. But then financial services companies offer a good package. So and offer a good role too. It's not just that they offer a good package. But you can, of course, look at IT industry and financial services industry. But that doesn't mean you should not be looking at other industries. I would say all industries are good, because as a fresher, you have the advantage. You can be molded into any kind of job profile in any kind of sector.
So we have a question. What is the highest stipend for internship offered at IMT Hyderabad? Highest and average stipend for internships?
Okay. So the highest stipend offered was 1,05,000 per month, followed by the next highest was 75,000 per month. That was the first and second highest stipend offered at IMT Hyderabad this year. I'm talking of this year. And average, I think it's too early to calculate, because as I said, we begin our summer internship process later after completing at least 80% of our final placement. So average figures is something that we would be announcing soon. You would get it on our website and social media once we have a substantial number of students, because I think then average makes sense. Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about the career path once you get a placement offer at IMT Hyderabad, how your career looks after IMT Hyderabad?
Okay, so I would again say that I would kind of go back to what I said earlier, is we give you a lot of training and lot of inputs, not only on how to crack an interview, but as you're saying, what happens after you crack the interview, and it's a very experiential learning what we try to give you. For example, clubs and committees. There are so many clubs and committees, and 16, let's say, 16 clubs and 6 committees, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And every student is kind of part of some of the other clubs or committee. Okay. So basically that gives you and each club and committee has a faculty head or whatever, faculty mentor or whatever you want to say. So in these clubs and committees, you get a lot of experiential learning and lot of intangible learning that keeps on happening. And that is where that is what helps you in your journey post your selection and post your joining the company. This is what all these learnings that help you later in your stage. But let me talk of specifically in terms of examples where our alumni has done a very good, has kind of, they are into a very good career path. And I was talking of Bharat, who recently came who is the chief manager of Kotak Mahindra Bank within a span of, he passed out in 2014. And so within a span of 8 to 9 years, he has reached the pinnacle. Similarly, we have a lot of success stories of our alumni, where our alumni have done very well in their respective sectors and in their respective areas. And some of them have also joined or rather started their entrepreneurial venture immediately after MBA, or maybe some year they worked, got some experience, and then started their entrepreneurial ventures and so on. So a lot of success stories that we have. I think I advise the students to watch our alumni diaries, which we are posting on our LinkedIn page. And that gives you an idea of where our alumni are and what kind of success stories they have seen. So there's a lot of opportunity after passing out of IMT. One is, of course, the IMT brand, which is associated with, which is your alma mater, and which is like, kind of always associated with you, which gives you that. IMT alumni, which you will find everywhere. Any organization you work, you will find IMT alumni who will be helping you. And of course, our alumni have been doing quite good in their career.
There's a question: how many years of work experience would be most favorable for admissions at IMT Hyderabad?
So WorkX, I think there is a kind of weightage that we are giving to WorkX. So since it is a weightage, I cannot say in absolute terms, I cannot say that whether 2 years is good or 3 years is good or something like that. But out of my experience, I can say that any experience from 2 to 3 years is an ideal experience. Or if you want to extend it, 2 to 4 years is an ideal experience to join an MBA program if you are an experienced student. But since in the admission process, if you're asking, we have weightages. Once we give weightage to your CAT score, to your interview performance, and to your this thing. So there is nothing like cutoff. You should have minimum 1 year or minimum or maximum 5 years. There's nothing like cutoff for an experienced student.
So there's a student who wants to know if the placement is centralized for all the IMT campuses.
No, as I just mentioned, placement is not centralized. It is driven by each campus individually.
There's one that asks, what are the roles offered for PGDM versus PGDM marketing?
Okay. So I think we just touched that, no?
We can read that slide again.
Yeah, we can kind of, I'll share my screen again. One moment, I think I'll have to again do some. Yeah, can you see the screen now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so these are the function-wise roles offered in marketing, and so there is another slide, 2 slides to it. So, but one thing I like to tell, I think if the students are seeing something called management trainee and senior management trainee profiles and all, and this happens more in marketing, where students get a management trainee role, and they rotate. So in the first 6 months or 1 year, what a management training basically means is, in the first 6 months or 1 year, you are not assigned a particular role as such, and you go through the various roles in that domain. So basically, if you talk of marketing, let's say in a FMCG company, then it may happen you may work for a sales function for some time. You may work in branding for some time. You may work in social media marketing for some time. And this is how your 6 months are divided, 2 months each, let's say. And then the company offers you a final role, which is based on how you performed in each of these functions and what your interest area is, where company found you good. So that's because, there are a lot of advantages to it, because when you're passing out from the B school, if you're a fresher, you may not know, what works for me, what would be the best suitable to me, and so on. So this is what a management trainee role means, which you would be seeing in this slide. A lot of management trainee or senior management trainee roles are there.
So can you talk a little bit about the involvement of students in the placement process, our placement committee?
So I think I should give this opportunity to you, because you are a member of the placement committee at IMT Hyderabad. So, but yes, just to give you a brief, just to give an idea to the listeners, one is the audience. One is, of course, we have a placement committee, which kind of is of course, the first job is to be a bridge between the students and the team, the placement team, which we call CRO at IMT Hyderabad, Corporate Relations Office. And of course, then they do calling also, whether it is internship and also a lot of activities happen. So I think I should give it to you. You spend 2 minutes on telling, as a placement committee member, what your experience has been.
So as a placement committee member, the first thing, as Sir said, would be to act as a bridge between you, the corporate relations officer, and also the company. Majority, we handle all the placement processes, smooth process flow for all the students. We really take care of our batchmates and our juniors or seniors, whichever year you're working in. And I would say it's the most, it's the biggest learning experience you would get if you're in any committee in IMT Hyderabad. I mean, the amount of experience you get, the amount of intangible learnings that you get is immeasurable. You can actually see a visible change in how you work and how you function over the 2 years of being in the placement committee. And I think it's a great opportunity.
Yeah. So Naga, one thing I would like to add here is, one more experience that you get as a placement committee student is you get to choose your own team, all juniors. So when you are in the second year, you choose which students come into the pre-SCOP, what is the first year student committee. SCOP means Student Committee of Placement. So which students come. So this also is a very important learning. You choose your team, you interview the students, you choose which students, and then you manage them for 1 month. You manage them, train them, and so on. So that's also a very important activity and great amount of learning that goes if you are a placement committee member.
So can you talk a little bit about the lowest package that we have got for the 2020 batch? 2021-23 batch, our
23 batch. 23, yeah. So our lowest package is 9 lakhs per annum this year. And historically, again, there has been an increase in by around 1 lakh per annum every year. So for example, last year it was 8 lakhs per annum, year before that was 7 lakhs per annum. And probably because we have already started doing our planning for the 24 batch, now that placements of 23 batch are more or less complete, we are looking at planning. And in that, again, it is this minimum is 10 lakhs per annum. So it was 9 lakhs per annum for 23 batch, and it would be 10 lakhs per annum for the 24 batch.
So there's one question: are gap years after work experience a hindrance for admissions or placements?
I would say no. I mean, whether it is admissions or placements, it is not, because if you're able to justify that gap year, and for example, I mean, which many students do is like, once they do their UG, they take an year to prepare for the competitive exams so that they get a good score and they get a good college. So probably, if you are in an IMT group college, then that means that you utilized your 1 year. You took that 1 year gap and then you got a decent competitive score, and that's the reason you are here. So basically that itself justifies why you did the gaps. That is one reason why if you have a gap, that is one reason, one major reason that I know why people have a gap. And second thing is, of course, that there may be medical reasons, there may be family reasons and all. So that is there. But as I said, with all my experience in placements, a gap year is not something that would be an hindrance in getting you a job. So come that finicky about why you had a gap year, as long as you can justify that why you had a gap.
So that's all the questions we have for now. Do we want to wait for a few more questions?
So one thing I would like to generally advise the students, since it's a platform where we can interact with the prospective students, is that a lot of things are there when you actually, from a placements perspective, there is something called a job versus career, and whichever B school you are going, you should look at that. And as a placement head, I always advise my students to know what is the difference between a job and a career. And accordingly, once you know that, you can start working in that direction, which is very important. And this work starts from the day you enter the college, not when you pass out or when you are selected or when you appear for the placement interview. While a job is something that is an assignment that you do for money, it's simple. You give me something and you give me, I'm doing something for an individual or a company or an organization or something, and I'm getting some remuneration in return. So that's a job. That's all about being in a job. And while career is something different, where you actually plan, where you actually see that this is what I'm going to do, and this is what would be affecting me 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, or maybe even 20 years down the line. Like I'm very glad some of these students asked some very pertinent questions on, what kind of career path and so on. So that is something which is very, very important for you to look at and consider, not only, and as I said, not only when you are passing out or when you are selected or when you are going for interviews, but right from the day you enter the visa. That's something that's I think the my 2 cents of advice that I would like to give the students.
So I think we'll close the session with this, sir. That being said, as a student who has got an offer in a role that I really wanted, I would say that IMT Hyderabad offers all the opportunities you want for all kind of students. All you have to do is grab it and make the best of it. Thank you and all the best.
Sure. Thank you, Anaga. And I wish all the best to all the prospective students, and we wish to see you at IMT and look forward to meeting you. Thank you.